Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. After we were in the Styrian Mountains last time out, it's a slightly different scenery. This time, round 2 of the championship here on PC for Season 31 in the F3 Championship. It is the Miami Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me once again this week is Paul. And Paul, it's a brand new track for the drivers to do. And we've said different scenery, a completely different challenge as well. Miami, definitely a tricky circuit.
Yeah, it definitely is, and of course, everybody's going to be on a level playing field. It won't matter on previous game experience. It's all going to be about how much you've managed to learn the track in this game, being its first appearance. It's something I've been quite excited to see is league racing around this track. Obviously, we had the first real-world race a couple of months ago, and ever since I've been itching to see how it works out in league racing. So it's going to be a very interesting one this evening, that's for sure.
Yeah, really am looking forward to tonight's race. If you weren't with us last week for the Austrian Grand Prix, don't worry, we won't let you off. It was a dominant performance by Xander van Dijken taking the victory in the F3 tier. Qualified on pole position, and after a couple of incidents in the race, managed to pull away and take that victory. Zoltan Boda got second place. Daniel Kija in third. Some big names from the F3 Championship last year failing to score points. Then Morgan Ball, one of those, obviously the reigning champion, he's not here tonight either, so things not exactly looking great for him. And some other big names that failed to score. Leonard Gertzer finished in the top 5 last year, didn't get any. Jeffrey Ritchie, who dropped down from F2, didn't score any points. But as we've already said, it is a level playing field, and as we've seen from F1, it's not the easiest track to overtake on, and it's not going to be the easiest thing in general, because the drivers have had to get used to some big changes over the last few days.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that aren't aware, of course, the game was patched to its 1.06 update in the last week, which has completely overhauled the handling model of the game. The engine torque curves have been changed, gear ratios have been tweaked, force feedback's been changed. It's a different driving experience. It's one that's not hugely popular with a lot of league races as far as I've seen on social media, but like it or not, they're going to have to deal with it tonight, because that's what we're going to be racing with. So we'll find out who's managed to make the best of this new handling setup around a brand new track as well.
Yeah, like I said, brand new track, brand new handling setup. Apparently it's slightly easier on the traction, but speaking to nearly everyone of league racing quality, they're saying, no, this is not the greatest thing. And as we said, it is a brand new track, so we'll take a quick look at the track map then before qualifying gets underway. 3 DRS zones, 19 turners and 19 corners. We've got that very twisty fiddly section, that chicane at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that sort of area where you can see a lot of drivers pick up not just track limit warnings, I've seen quite a few pick up instant 3-second time penalties, so might have to be a bit careful through there.
Yeah, of course, the instant time penalties, while they can be annoying in the game, are, of course, evaluated by the stewards after the fact and then adapted as needs be. Of course, Jeffrey Ritchie picked one up last week that the stewards then amended and removed the time from his race time later on. But it's all very well and good that happening. It can be a little bit disheartening if you see it happen during a race. You just got to bear in mind, if it is a bug, then the stewards will look at that and fix that at the end of the race for you. But hopefully we don't see any of that around here tonight, as we're already into qualifying. I can see cars coming out onto the track ready to go, and we've got a McLaren and an Alfa Romeo coming out straight away. Yeah,
so obviously not long, folks. If you're not familiar to how things work, it is short qualifying here, unlike the full qualifying that they use in the F1 tier. So let's head out there onto the circuit then. Obviously no tyre ball either, so everyone going to be straight going out there onto a set of soft tyres, and it is Jeffrey Ritchie who is going to be the first car out on the circuit.
Yeah, so taking that Alfa Romeo out right away, getting a good gap between everybody except for, I think that might be Xander van Dijken that's behind him on the track at the moment, and making his way through the quite long almost straight middle sector at the moment. It's not quite straight, not as straight as the straight in Sector 3, but you can be on full power pretty much the whole way down here with the DRS as well. So this is going to be one of the key overtaking points as we head down in towards turn number 11, and then we've got this really tight, sort of very twisty section towards the end part of the lap before the straight, and then I think one of the tightest corners in F1 with how close the walls are, unless you're sort of talking Monaco sort of thing. And then you're out onto this big, massive, long straight, which is you've really got time to take a breath to sort of psych yourself up before a qualifying lap, coming down this straight into the final sequence of corners before you get to the line.
Yeah, you have. It's, plenty of time for the brakes and tyres to cool down a bit as well if you've not really got too much heat into them. But we're going to go on board then with last week's race winner, Xander Van Dijken, the Dutchman, affiliated with TF10. What can he do around the Miami circuit as he heads now down the first DRS straight in towards turn number 1? You might see a few overtakes into there. Flat, well, lifted off the throttle slightly, obviously, through 2, likewise through 3. And now we've got this S section where you've really got to be careful on the curbs as well. With the modern Formula 1 cars, it is very easy to beat these on the curves through here as you make your way through 5, 6, and then in towards 7. Almost a continuation of turn number 6. 8, you've really not got to bother about too much. Just get the stock car straightened up, and it's a 29.7 for Xander Van Dijken as he now makes his way through 9 and 10. Again, not corners that you have to bother about. This is where you'll see a lot of slipstreaming in the race, making their way towards the tight, twisty middle part of the circuit in towards turn number 11. Run it wide onto the Astro and onto the asphalt as much as you dare at that part of the circuit. Coming into 13 now, and here's where you've got to be careful. 14 and 15 in towards turn number 16 as well. One of the narrowest parts on the Formula 1 calendar, as Paul mentioned, outside of Baku. And now climbing up through the gears on the longest straight on the circuit. DRS open part way down the straight, and this is where you will see most of the overtaking opportunities. This is where you've got to spot your braking zone. 209 miles per hour, about 335 kilometers per hour for Xander Van Dijken there, making his way around the final few corners. Pit entry on that right hand side. Watch that you don't take too much curb, and a 1:26.484 is a very respectable lap time indeed. That would have got him, in towards Q2 yesterday in F1, so I think he'll be very happy with that. Obviously, short qualifying, different track conditions, many different things, but once again, Xander's getting out of the block straight away.
Yeah, once again, setting that bar very, very early and very, very high. A 26.4 is going to take some beating in this qualifying session, that's for absolute certain, but there's plenty of time for the drivers to do. We've got some more times coming in as well, more in the 26s. Closest so far just is Drake Dempsey, who's just come across the line with a 26.585, with his teammate Olaf Soko right behind him as well on a 26.6. And then we got a few 26.6s, in fact, similar to how we saw last time out. We've got very tight, sort of towards the second part of. I don't know how you describe that, third, fourth, and fifth. It's almost like, to a degree, and from last week, that Xander Van Dijken's almost in a league of his own. But see if that is the case so far. Only a 10th gap so far back to Drake Dempsey and the rest of them. So it's looking closer at the moment. But what shocks me is the fact that we're seeing these 126 lap times. For reference, the real world. And I looked this up because I wanted to see just how different the lap times were. The real world lap record around this track set this year by Max Verstappen was a 1:31.3. Which insane difference, but it shows how much commitment that these sort of esports level drivers can have going around here. They've got a lot less fear about having to worry about tiny little minuscule bits of damage from clipping a curb. They don't have to worry about going into a wall and injuring themselves. They've got full commitment around every corner, and it shows in how much quicker they're able to go.
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at like a study of, the different circuits and see where the differences are the biggest. Is it slow corners? Is it medium corners? Is it on the straights? If you're the AI, it almost certainly is on the straights. We've all heard plenty about that one, how fast they are at the moment. Thomas Laminen, he's one of the reserves of tonight. He's got into 11th in the Alpine. We have got quite a large number of reserves tonight that we are going to go through, just to let everyone who's watching who is going to be racing in tonight. So Thomas is replacing Ryan Jacobs. Luka Mlanic, who was there last week, he is replacing Morgan Ball, the other Red Bull on this occasion. Get owned. You can see in 10th place, he is replacing Leonard Goetze. We've got Milan Mayer in the Haas replacing Valentin Divard, and Matt Brain in the other Alpine. He is replacing Joseph Lowe. Andrew Karapi, he is the driver missing tonight. That is why we are on 19 cars. And after the first 6.5 minutes of qualifying, hopefully everyone is enjoying it. It is Xander Van Dijken fastest, Drake Dempsey in second, Olaf Soku in third. And Soku, he was up there towards the front last week, had a moment. Jona Martins had a moment up towards the front. There were a few drivers who made mistakes, and they'll be hoping to redeem themselves. It is only a short championship. You can't afford too many bad races.
No, absolutely you can't. It's consistency is going to be absolutely key to really cementing this championship. So we'll see if the likes of Sander Van Dijken can get another solid win. Somebody who's very good at consistency last time out was Daniel as well. He managed to really thrust himself into the championship with solid, consistent results. So I'm expecting the same from him this time as well. Can any of the reserves upset the apple cart is the one thing I want to wait and see. Obviously, as you say, we've got a fair few of them in tonight's race. So let's see if they can sort of muscle their way up the grid. I know, for example, I've covered races that Ghetto's done before, and I know he's a very rapid driver on his day. So he's definitely going to be the reserve to watch for me. Whether he can take the fight to Sander Van Dijken, Daniel, and so on is it remains to be seen. But we could still have a very exciting evening ahead of us with that being the case.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be trying to take the fight. His Ghetto's teammate for tonight, Christian Sendel's just on a second warm-up lap at the moment. So that's what we're seeing from him. That sort of second out lap. No one really setting the timing screen to light at the moment. Jeffrey Ritchie goes to invalidated, so he's made his way straight back towards the pit. So it looks once more that Sander Van Dijken is going to be the next car to, well, the first car to set a second run in this session, pushing for it straight away and going, looking at a very interesting line there through turn number 7. And that's sort of the things you've got to be able to practice on this game. Where can you push the track limits a bit more than perhaps you can do at some other circuits?
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially with most of the curbs around here are painted curbs as well. So you'll see quite often the drivers, as I'm seeing Sander Van Dijken doing now, it's almost straddling them going into corners, just to widen that line as much as humanly possible. Of course, as long as they got 2 wheels on the track, the game won't mind that. They're still going to be within the track limits. It does allow them to take some liberties with it. There are some you've got to worry about, the raised curves, especially through that twisty section going through turns 14 and 15. There's a dirty, great sausage curve on the inside of that. You don't want to clout that quite too hard. You can sort of, as Sander Van Dijken has done on this lap, sort of straddle that. But if you get that slightly wrong, that could be floor damage, and that could be very, very crucial.
Yeah, definitely do not want floor damage on this game. And I've seen drivers hop over the curb and actually get beached around here as well if they've got things completely wrong. But Sander clearly deciding that's not the lap for him, deciding to make his way back towards the pits. Luka Milanic, he's invalidated on his lap time, so we are seeing quite a large number of invalidations at the moment, which, street circuits, not something you'd associate with, but there are plenty of opportunities around here just to cut the corners, which is not what you want to be doing, obviously. And are we seeing any improvements at the moment? We might do soon with one of the Ferraris. Olaf Soko, actually, he's invalidated, has the pole. He's 700ths down at the moment. Zoltan Boda, he's just coming through the final corner now. What can the Hungarian do? Got a podium last week, and he has again decided to dive it back into the pit. So drivers finding things quite tricky at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, I think with a quite generous time, of course, in this session, 18 minutes from start to finish. So plenty of time to sort of find those limits as best you can. Obviously, a lot of them would have been practicing to find those limits, but it's a different beast when you're actually in the session with all the other quick drivers to sort of refine the limits where you can push, where it's perhaps a little bit more risky to do that. So there's plenty of time for them to do that and get out and set a solid lap. A lot of them have got laps under their belts already. I was just keeping one eye on Drake Dempsey, who was almost level with his best lap, but not quite, so has come back in. He was half a tenth slower and decided, no, that's not the lap for me. I'm going to come in and go back out again in a minute. And that's how competitive it is, as Jake Finch is the first person to take the fight to Sander Van Dijken. Of course, Jake Finch wasn't here last week, couldn't take the fight to him then. Comes straight out in this one, 1:26.459.
Not bad whatsoever then from Jake Finch. And Danerco, Mirko Soriano, you might recognise him from F1 on the Mondays, of course, on the PlayStation platform, with Jess Ball and Aidan Carter saying no one finished their second runs. Yeah, we only saw Milan Mayer, I think Jake Finch as well, Daniel, and both of the Aston Martins, Yone Tripkov and Jan Halliday, who I'm sure might be putting in an addition in, of course, for the real Aston Martin seat, with Sebastian Vettel retiring from Formula 1 at the end of the season. Jeffrey Ritchie getting wild there, coming through turn number 13. A bit like we saw in real life, Ocon and Carlos Sainz having a massive moment, but the rear of Richie's car was all over the place there. Did very well to hold it. But this is his, what, third attempt at setting a lap time. 6 minutes to go. And he's still yet to do one. He'll be getting a bit nervous now.
Yeah, as will Christian Sendel if this lap doesn't come together. He's just come through the end of the first sector, 29.8. As Jonah Martins goes fastest overall with a 26.447. I'm going to keep my eyes on this lap from Christian Sendel. It'll be his first lap of the session if he keeps it all on in between the white lines on the grey stuff for this one. Coming through the twisty middle sector of the lap at the moment. And where will this lap put him out? I expect... Oh, there's a big drift there. Yep, that's not what you want when you're 5 minutes away from a qualifying session ending. Almost exactly what Jeffrey Ritchie did there. Just lost the back end coming through that middle sector of the lap. And that is that lap done and dusted. And I imagine quite probably the tyres as well, given the nature of that slide. So, yeah, the pressure's on for Jeffrey Ritchie and Christian Sendel right now with just 5 minutes of the session to go. Are they going to get a lap in?
Yeah, well, they're all having trouble actually at the moment. We're not seeing, like we said, major improvements. I mean, Van Dijken managed to, his first one, still got enough for third place, and it is very rare that you do see that. On board with the Mercedes then of Modesto Mena, he's slowest of everyone that has set a time, and given by the fact that he's half a second off the nearest car, I think we can safely say not set a representative lap time at the moment, as he makes his way a lot more tidier through that twisty part, 13, 14, 15, and 16 than what we've seen a few of the others do. Now heading down the back straight already. There we go, 6/10 of a second up from the Spaniard. So if he finds a bit of time in the final sector, if he finds 3/10 again, this should be good enough to get him up towards the top 10 in that Mercedes. A bit slower in the straight line speed than what we saw from Zander Van Dijken earlier. Just a couple of kph, a couple of miles per hour off there. But what can Mena do as he makes his way around the final corner, and in the end can only get himself up into 16 from that 127.011. But even that final part of the circuit, which looks innocuous enough coming out of the hairpin at turn number 17, looks like it shouldn't cause you any trouble. I mean, I've spun round there, but that's nothing special. Well, you saw Thomas Ronhaar yesterday spin. It is that part, if you're a bit greedy on the throttle, especially if you're flying over the curves, very easily look foolish.
Yeah, even with the way the new handling model is, with the torque curve being adjusted, you can still very easily spin these cars. Of course, no traction control or anything like that. So it's still very easy, just if you've got a slightly heavy right foot, to kick the back end out and around you go. Something interesting I saw while that lap was going on, I had my eye on what Zander Van Dijken was doing, as Olaf Soko goes fastest with a 26.3, first driver into the 26.3 so far. But Zander Van Dijken could have beaten him there. Zander was going quicker on his lap. He even set a purple middle sector of the lap, but then peeled off into the pits, which was somewhat confusing, at least to me. It looked like he was purple. He was looking like he was going to be making enough of an improvement, and decided to bail out of the lap. So Zander's definitely got the pace to be up there on the front row, but for some reason chose not to be.
Yeah, interesting that he's done that. Whether, again, he thinks, I wouldn't have had enough time to get round. We are seeing a lot more drivers out of sync with each other tonight than I think we're used to normally seeing in league racing in general. Matt Brain has just got himself up into 9th then on a 126.753, 4/10 of a second from what is now looking like a barnstorming lap from Olaf Soku, the pole driver on pole position. Right now, Jerne Dovzen, he's just started a hot lap in the Williams. Last time out, it was a solid performance from Jerne in the Williams. Managed to get himself 5th place in the end. And we spoke about the Drivers' Championship earlier. If we go through the Constructors' Championship, McLaren, courtesy of that victory, and Jonah Martins picking up a point. They're leading the championship at the moment by just 1 point from Williams. Daniel Keyes' podium and Jerne also getting a top 5 finish means Williams aren't looking too shabby at all in the championship. Alfa Romeo and Alpine are next. Haas, Aston Martin and Alfa Tauri, the rest of the teams with points. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull. We're not used to saying this. No points so far. They'll be hoping it can change tonight. And with one Red Bull in the top 5, a Ferrari on pole and the other Ferrari in the top 5, that is looking very likely indeed. But we'll see what Dovzan can do then. This is likely to be, judging by his ERS level, this is very possibly going to be his final run in qualifying session. So what can he do around that tricky hairpin at turn number 17? The car wanting to understeer off towards the wall there. Towards the line he comes. Gets himself up 1 place into 8th.
Yeah, while that was going on, I was watching Jeffrey Ritchie's lap. He set a purple middle sector. I was thinking, is he about to nick pole away from Olaf Soko? The answer is no, but he is on the front row of the grid with a 26.4, and that's quite impressive considering that's his first actual complete lap in qualifying. He's invalidated a fair few and chosen to bail out of a fair few already, but here we go. Straight out, bang, there we go, 26.4, showing his pace for absolutely certain there. And really cementing himself towards the top pointy end of the grid. Can anybody beat Olaf Soko's time in the remainder of this session? He has retired from the session, so he's not going to be beating that time. Is anybody else going to be? Jona Martins out there at the moment. He is a good couple of tenths up as he comes out of the first sector by the look of things. In fact, he hasn't crossed the first sector line, but when I joined, it looked like he joined with him. He looked like he was two tenths up. He's now 3/1000ths up on his best time. So if anybody, I think, is going to beat Olaf Soko's time, Jona Martins could be one of the ones to do it as he's making his way towards the twisty middle sector. If he can keep it on the grey stuff, keep it between the white lines and keep that pace up, we could be seeing a time to rival at 26.320 that currently sits in pole position. Heading through turns 14 and 15 now, riding over that sausage curb in the middle of the corner, and quite nicely, it must be said, in the McLaren. Through that sector, coming out the second sector, it's a purple middle sector for Jona Martins, a tenth and a bit up. 0.13, if I can get my numbers in the right order, through the middle sector up on his best. So it's looking like he could be very, very close indeed. Just the final sector to go, rounding the final few corners. Can Jona Martins hit Olaf Soko as Sander van Dijken slots into P2? No, but he can beat his teammate at 26.347, 2/100ths of a second, separating the front two drivers at the moment with the checkered flag waving as it looks like the order is mostly going to be set unless we see a really cracking lap from someone like Jan Haladej or Zoltan Boda a little further back.
Yeah, we've got Drake Dempsey. He's just making his way around the final corners now. What can the Ferrari do? Gets himself up into third place. It's like the olden days here. Ferrari McLaren at the top of the order. Alessandro Maras is improving. This could get him in towards the top 10. In the end, it was an invalid lap time, so actually would have been good enough to get himself well towards the top 10. His teammate makes his way towards the line. Modesto Mena joins Maras on the 8th row of the grid. And I think that is pretty much going to be everything. It is Olaf Soko doing that lap a bit earlier on, turning out to be good enough for pole position. But look how close the times are. 5 drivers all the way down from Soko to Jeffrey Ritchie within 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, we saw this last week with how close the grid is. And once again, it's forming up to be quite nice. Sander van Dijken's got a bit of work to do if he wants to try and run away with it the same way he did in Austria. I imagine, I hate to say these words, there's going to be a DRS train, so it's going to come down to who's going to be the brave enough one to try and make a little bit of a dive perhaps in the brakes to break out of that. That is what we're going to be watching for. The start is going to be vital here as well as we make our way down towards the first corner. It's not the longest run towards turn 1 around this track, so whoever can get that speed up quickly, they're looking like they might be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, definitely. Whoever gets it right on the strategy as well could be key. But it is Soko fastest then in this session. Jona Martins in second place. Drake Dempsey in third. Sander van Dijken, Ghost, Finch, Zoltan Boda, Daniel, Keisha, Milan Maya and Yuri Dovzan round out the top 10. Jan Haladej just outside that in the Aston Martin alongside Matt Brain. Get owned 13th on his debut in this championship this season. Luka Milanic is 14th. Alessandro Maras and Modesto Mena making it all in all. Mercedes 8th row of the grid. Thomas Lamanen, Jane Tripkov at 17th and 18th for Christian Sendel. Failing to set a time. We'll be back after this short break. Yeah, fantastic qualifying there. And as we saw, it is going to be Olaf Soko taking pole position. Jona Martins in second place, sandwiching the two Ferraris with Drake Dempsey in third. And he, of course, himself in that McLaren sandwich with Xander Van Dyken in fourth. For Jeffrey Ritchie, we said he had to leave it late, and he did do in the end, getting that fifth place. It is looking like it's going to be close, and like you said, I think DRS trains are going to be so crucial around here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm be intrigued to see what the strategy plays out as well, because of course, if we see a bit of a mismatch of tyre strategies going on throughout the grid, that could be interesting. That could make or break some people's races as well, as they make their way around. If you've got somebody out of sort of running around on a medium tyre, where you're on the softs trying to make some progress in the early stages of the race, with how difficult it is to overtake, that could change the way your race goes. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how it plays out. I can see we've definitely got some medium tyres on the grid. Do we have some hard tyres as well? I can't quite see from the camera angle I'm looking at, but they're going to be very interested to see. In fact, they're all on the hard tyres. It's not mediums I can see, it's hards for the entire field.
Yes, so everyone going for that same strategy around the Miami International Autodrome, sharing the same sort of roads that go around the Hard Rock Stadium. 5.410 kilometres, 3 DRS zones, and 19 corners. And like we've said multiple times, that drag reduction system is going to be key. Like Paul has already said, everyone going for a set of the hard tyres, hard medium, is definitely the way to go around here. That was proven last night. I can't see anyone using the softs unless they're going for a last-ditch fastest lap, unless we get a last-minute safety car. I am surprised, though, that no one has gone for the mediums and has decided to try something different. The only reason I could think of why you wouldn't do that, a bit like we saw in Bahrain in some of the pre-season races, the warm-up on the hards is pretty dreadful. You can very easily lose time to the cars who've stayed out if you pit for a set of hards.
Yeah, absolutely. So that does probably explain why they've chosen to start on the hards. The other question is going to be is who can warm them up the best. With them all being on the same tyre, a lot of it's going to come down to sort of tyre warm-up and heat management, especially towards the end of this formation lap. Who's going to be able to get the most out of these tyres in the early phase of the race? Because that could be crucial for gaining 1 or 2 positions before DRS gets activated, before it sort of becomes a bit of a train for a few laps. The tyre heat management and the start are going to be absolutely key in the opening laps of this race. And Olaf Soko leads them round now to retake the grid for the start of this race. A short run to turn 1 awaits, Luke, and who is going to get the best start?
Yeah, who is going to get the best start? Let us know in the chat who you think is going to win, and if you want to have some predictions for the Hungarian Grand Prix this weekend and the rest of the Grand Prix, you can check out our sponsors, Grid Rival, their own fantasy leagues with great social features to communicate with all your friends as well. Christian Sendel taking up that final slot here as we get ready for round number 2 of PSGL here, sponsored by GT Omega. We've got 5 lights, not a long hold whatsoever. They go out and we're underway for the Miami Grand Prix. And straight away there's been contact between Dempsey and Jona Martins off the start line. What on earth has happened there? Jona Martins has lost his front wing, and all of a sudden, we've got a Ferrari 1-2. Zoltan Boda dropping down the field as well. Xander Van Dyken, I think, had to take some evasive action in that one, but it is actually Drake Dempsey leading this race now. Soko in second, Jeffrey Ritchie in third. We were saying we might get some drama tonight. I don't think we were expecting it that quickly. Yeah,
absolutely. It's almost reminiscent of what we saw in Silverstone this year. With I think it was just a gap that was closing, and to be honest, I think it was actually the 2 Ferraris of Drake Dempsey and Olaf Soko coming together, and it looked a little bit like they came together. Drake Dempsey sort of almost bounced off the wheels of his teammate into the path of an unsuspecting Jona Martins, who wound up taking the brunt of that into the wall by the pit lane. So a very unfortunate start for him. Yeah, that's not what you want at the start of a 29-lap race around Miami. It doesn't look like Drake Dempsey's got any damage, or in fact I can see people in the chat saying yes, he does have damage from that. He's definitely trying to run away at the moment. Maybe it's not affecting him too badly at this phase of the race, but time will tell, especially if it's side pod damage. With the speed he could lose down that big straight in particular. He's not pitting, so it's either it's not bothering him too much or it's not fixable damage. He's gone ahead and he's pulled out 6/10 already on Olaf Soko, so I don't think it's going to be hampering him too much at the moment, but we'll see how things go, as we do have some drivers coming into the pit lane already. Yannick Turpkov and Modesta Mena both coming in at the end of lap 1 with a new wing, at least for Modesto Mena and for Jano Tepkov as well. So they've been in the walls as well.
Yeah, and also Tepkov's teammate Jan Halladej, as well as Get Owned. He's also both got front wing damage, and they've dropped off the back of the pack. So we'll see how they can do. But Drake not doing too bad at the moment, despite having that damage on the car. He's doing an okay situation at the moment. Got that gap up to about 0.6 of a second. It's not, as we were saying, it's not visible damage on that car, so I think he won't mind. He might be able to get away with things, as Matt Brain having a battle with Christian Sendel on his way down towards the braking zone there. Very nicely done. So that is Matt Brain up into 11th. Oh, and there's been a bit of contact actually between Sendel and Matt there. Christian, the biggest gainer on the first lap, even if he is going to lose out of position here to Alessandro Maras. Is he? Yes, in the end, Maras gets himself up towards 12th place. Sendel has gained 6 positions. We've seen Jan Halladej lose 5. Obviously, the biggest loser, Jana Martens, down 17 places at this moment in time. And we were saying we were expecting a DRS train. We've not got that too much at the moment. In fact, that's just my interval timing that has gone a bit dodgy, because as you can see, Xander Van Dijken is definitely a lot closer than 1 second to the back of Jeffrey Ritchie at the moment. But roundabout behind Jake Finch, Milan Mayer at the moment, he's got some work to do if he wants to get onto the back of those top 6. And with 3 DRS zones, that could be curtains for any chance of a fantastic result for him if he can't get onto the back of Finch.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really going to have to work at it to try and keep on the back of that lead pack if he wants any sort of a chance at fighting back through the higher points positions later on. My thing I've just noticed that I'm going to definitely be keeping an eye on. Jonah Martins didn't have the best start, of course, involved in that incident with the Ferraris. He's put on the soft tyres after getting that nose change, so he may be coming back into this a little bit later on. Of course, I am no doubt whatsoever he's going to be making another pit stop. There's no way he's going to get those soft tyres 28 laps around this circuit. But the pace difference he'll have compared to those on the mediums and the hards, he might be able to pull himself back in and at least try and fight his way back up to the point. So it's not all game over for Jonah Martins just yet. If he can fight his way through, granted it's difficult around here to make overtakes, but if he can fight his way back up towards the front of the pack, points may still be on the cards for the McLaren driver, so we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on him as we make our way down towards the final corner to close out lap 3. Still Drake Dempsey leading from his Ferrari teammate.
Yeah, and Soku, he's got close in the last 2 DRS zones, just can't get quite close enough. He's still got 86% ERS though, which suggests that if he wanted to get a bit closer, he would be able to do. The Ferrari's working well at the moment, working well together. Dempsey leading, Soku in second. You can just see how much power the DRS has at the moment as Matt Byrne now sets the fastest lap of the race, down in 11th position there. And this train has closed up. We have still got 16 cars in the train. Interestingly, Get Owned and Halladej are 2 of those. So despite having their broken front wings, which I'm almost certain they'll change in their pit stops, they are managing to hold on to things at the moment as Ritchie, he gets close to the 2 Ferraris. Takes a bit of a different line, so that might cost him on acceleration out of the corner, but he's definitely looking rapid tonight, is Ritchie, as Mena sets the fastest lap, and I think Jona Martins will do that once he comes by on the soft tyres. But it looks like everyone's quite happy to just stay as they are for now, just sticking this train. This is a big trend of F1 League racing that we've seen over the previous games. It's not just a new thing. It is not just new to this circuit. Everyone's happy to just stay where they are until we get a bit closer to the pit stop periods. And then obviously after the pit stop periods, you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of settle into your own rhythm at this phase of the race and sort of compose yourself for a little bit later on. Don't take too many unnecessary risks, or you'll have a lot of work to do by the end of it. Just a note for those that, as we see a battle for the lead, actually, Olaf Soko up the inside of Drake Dempsey with the DRS, past his teammate into the lead of the race once more. So we say everybody's sitting nice and happily behind the driver in front, but not quite, it would seem, as the Ferraris are starting to squabble a little bit. And if they want to work together, they don't want to be doing this too much, because as soon as you start squabbling, you start losing time, and then that's when we're going to start seeing moves going all over the place. For now, they've got a bit of a gap, because I think Xander Van Dijken has been scrapping around a little bit with Jeffrey Ritchie as well for 3rd and 4th position. So that's working at least a little bit in their favour for the time being, but scrapping too much is going to slow them down. A little note I wanted to mention as well, what I was going to say, the drivers with the front wing damage. I think in previous F1 games, if you'd have gotten damage like they've gotten, missing end plates and so on and so forth, you really would want to pit as soon as humanly possible to get that changed. Otherwise, you are just going to hemorrhage time on the drivers around you. But because of the way the 22 cars work, with most of the downforce coming from the floor, a broken end plate on the front wing, it's not the end of the world. I've had it in my career mode and barely felt it at some tracks. So they might be happy continuing for now, whereas some drivers, maybe they think, no, a front wing damage, I need to change that. We'll change the strategy, we'll come in, we'll get a new ring on it. They might be happy thinking, okay, I'll stick to the back and keep going. Though saying that, they have dropped off the back a little bit, it would seem, of that main train. With Thomas Laminen sort of sitting one. In fact, he's losing quite a lot of time at the moment to Christian Sender.
Yeah, just going to try and see if Thomas has got any damage. Non-visible, well, as we've said, non-visible damage is probably a bit worse on this game. 2021 especially, even if you had a slightly broken front wing, it could absolutely finish the performance of your cars. We got asked if there's any PSGL F1 champions on this grid. There isn't, but of course Sander van Dijken is a former F2 champion, and he won that by just being consistent. Didn't actually win any races in that season, and well, he's already won one in this season to go alongside his victory on the PlayStation side at Singapore last season. So, not doing too bad, and he's managed to get himself up towards third place. So, he's enjoying things at the moment, is Sander van Dijken. We'll see whether he can start putting the Ferraris under any pressure. And he might be able to start putting Drake under some pressure, who thinks about a move around the outside of his teammate. But you just see as Sander goes a bit deep there, and that might have given Ghost a bit of an opportunity. In fact, Daniel was getting very close to the back of Jeffrey Ritchie. Just seeing occasionally on board with Drake Dempsey the red fuel light flashing, so he's pretty marginal on his fuel. So I wonder if that's why he was happy to let Soku just get ahead of him, and he just wants to take advantage of the slipstream, save a bit of fuel, you know, and just save a bit more on this occasion. As Yene Dovzan, he's close to the back of Milan Meyer. Jake Finch very close to the back of Zoltan Boda, and that is a move down the inside. Goes the young Brit in towards 6th place. He's got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I imagine he will be able to get that removed, of course, at the steward's discretion. So that is Jake Finch up towards 6th, and that little move very nearly breaking up this train.
Yeah, absolutely. That if you need more of a demonstration of the time lost when you start battling the drivers around, you can see the gap that's formed in front of Jake Finch from that one little move where he was fighting his way past Zoltan Boda. That's nearly a second opened up in front. Luckily for Jake Finch, it wasn't quite a second, and he's, I imagine, getting quite quickly back onto the rear of the car in front and able to resume his position in the train for the time being. Keeping my eye on these lead 4, whether we're going to see any more changes happening at any moment soon. Looked like Jeffrey Ritchie was getting quite close to the back of Sander van Dijken, who, I was going to say earlier on, he may not be an F1 champion in PSGL, but he is a PSGL F1 race winner as Sander van Dijken. He won it in PSGL F1 on PlayStation before, so he's definitely got that pedigree there. I can see in the chat that Jack West confirming that the penalty that Jake Finch got was a little bit of a bug going on in the game, illegal overtake when he got past Jonah Martins at the opening of lap 1. So I can imagine as the leaders swap over once again, that will be removed post-race.
Yes, but as Jack also told us, he's going to have to serve it in the pit lane. So unless the game forgets to disqualify him if he does 29 laps on the hard tyres, he's going to get held for 5 seconds in the pits, and it is always a tiny bit more than 5 seconds when you serve it in the pit lane. So with how close things are at the moment, that's going to drop Jake, you know, possibly outside the points. But he's already proved that he's pretty racy tonight. He's already proved that he's always got that possibility to move things up the order. We're on to lap number 8. We're expecting it to be around about lap 16, 17, 18 when we start seeing these drivers coming in for a set of the medium tyres. Jonah Martins is back out on his set of the hard, so I think he's just had a bit of fun on those soft tyres, done his second different type of dry tyre that you have to use in a race, and now he'll be back out on the hards trying to get those towards the end. We could also have Jarno Terpkov and Modesto Mena having a bit of a battle, so that might be something to watch out for Pride later on in this race. Great to see that none of them have decided to retire in the pit lane at the moment, but it is as they make their way into this Stadium S section one more time. Dempsey, Soku, Van Dijken, Ritchie, Kija, Finch, Boda, Dovzan, Maya, Mlanic. Your top 10 all on the same strategy at the moment. And if you're sort of in the middle of this top 10, you know, if you're sort of, we'll say Daniel Kija, 5th place at the moment, full ERS. I know we're still a long way away from it, but if anyone's going to start thinking about an undercut, it would be him, because he's got the ERS to burn once he comes out the pits.
Yeah, the in-lap and the out-lap are going to be absolutely vital for those that do decide to jump first to pop on those medium tyres to get to the end of the race. So having that full ERS compared to those around him, if we look, Drake Dempsey's got quite a bit, Olaf Soko's got quite a bit, Sander Van Dijken has used nearly half of his already. Jeffrey Ritchie's got quite a lot, as you say. Daniel's basically forgotten the button exists on that Williams at the moment. Jake Finch has used quite a lot of his as well. So that could be very, very important on in-laps and out-laps for all these drivers that want to try an undercut or want to try and defend from the undercut, in fact, as well. If you are, for example, Jeffrey Ritchie, and you see Daniel come into the pits behind you, you're thinking, he's going to go for the undercut on me. Maybe that's when having a bit of extra ERS will help, because it'll just allow you to pump those lap times just a little bit more before you come in, and try and fend off any advantage that he would get while you make your way around to then mirror the stretch.
Yeah, someone who's not got a lot of ERS, so is Matt Brain. He's just been overtaken by Alessandro Mavas, so he's now 1 place off the points, and 1 place obviously off getting Mercedes their first points of the season, because it's very unlikely his teammate is going to at this time as they make their way through that very fiddly section. I was listening to the pad coach, Mr. Louis Wells, saying he reckons he's losing about 2 or 3 temps just through that one part of the track alone, just with how difficult it is to get the rotation in and get everything nice and steady on the pad. And I definitely agree with him. It must be an absolute nightmare around there, as Ritchie looking pretty close to the back of Van Dijken, can't get close enough on this occasion, and just sticks in for now. Things are quite calm. Things are quite close together, with the top 12 drivers being separated by 5 seconds at the moment. But that will all change once we head to the pits. It's going to be a fascinating final 20 laps in this race. We have still got all 20 runners with us. If you weren't here earlier, bit of contact between the two Ferraris off the start line, with Drake Dempsey getting a fantastic start. The car who lost out was a McLaren of Jona Martins. He had to pit straight away, so that is why he is down in last place, having completed 2 pit stops at the moment. Jonny Tripkov, Modesto Mena, Jan Halladage and Gettoned also being involved in some contact early on, and Tripkov and Mena have also pitted to put the mediums on. They will be pitting again before the end of the race. Drake Dempsey, you can see his teammate closing in. And again, absolutely no interest on this occasion, as the lack of ERS is really starting to hurt Matt Brain, and you can see how powerful it is around here. We talked how powerful the DRS is. Matt's had that red light flashing, and even though he's been in the train, he's lost 2 places in 2 laps. Yeah,
it's that lack of ERS is really, really hurting, and now he's just going to hope that the slipstream and the DRS, I think, is going to be able to keep him on the back of Christian Sendel, because otherwise he's going to be starting to drop off. Sendel's got... To be fair, Sendel's not got a lot of ERS left either, as there's bits of carbon fibre bouncing across the track.
Daniel's got no front wing.
Daniel, what has happened there? He's side by side with Jake Finch.
And Jeffrey Ritchie spun round. We saw the other Williams getting ahead of the other Alfa Romeo there. Dovzang overtaking Boda, but yeah, somewhere on the straight, and Jeffrey Ritchie there. I don't know what quite happened to his car, whether it got beached or something, but he has dropped a long way down the order. Daniel is into the pits. Has there been some late move on the straight that we've missed, and a bit of contact taking place? But Jeffrey Ritchie, I think this could be the first retirement in the race. He sped into the pit lane, so that's going to be a 5-second penalty later on. Getting involved in an incident early on again. It has not gone well for Ritchie, and Daniel losing his front wing, and that has certainly broken the train up, because Jake Finch is having to burn a lot of ERS just to try to close up onto the back of Van Dijken at the moment.
Yeah, I thought for a second that he wasn't going to be able to do it, because after everything settled with whatever happened around that final few corners there, the gap was about 1.5 seconds, so he's done quite well to close up as quick as he has, as Maya looks to be losing positions too, in fact, around this lap, as Jake Finch picks up another penalty, this one for track limits. But Zoltan Boda and Luka Milinak getting past Milan Maya through the middle sector of the lap there. But that's not the ideal for Milan Maya, but definitely able to come back from. But yeah, I'm intrigued as to what happened as Luka Milinak takes another position on this lap without the DRS getting past Zoltan Boda in towards the final few corners. But I was watching what was going on towards the back of the grid. I just saw bits of carbon fibre flying around down the straight, so there must have been some contact. Quite early on, I saw 3 end plates, so how many were involved in that, I'm not quite sure. Daniel's definitely one of them, we saw Jeffrey Ritchie involved as well. I'll have to wait and see exactly what happened later on, whether any of the podium interviewees can inform us on that one, because it does look a little bit weird that there was so much contact at a point of the track where you wouldn't really expect it.
All I can think of is someone's maybe lost one on the wall coming through turn number 16, and then there's been a bit of a concertina effect that has happened. But yeah, very strange indeed. I mean, both Alfa Romeos losing out massively in that. Jeffrey Ritchie's, he's pit and quit. He's left the session, so he won't be scoring any points this time around. Zoltan Boda lost a few places as well, and obviously Daniel Kija got a podium last time out. I think he's going to struggle to get those mediums towards the end of the race, certainly towards getting them the end in any sort of decent pace. Finch and Dovzan have managed to get themselves back onto the lead trio, though, at the moment. They've burnt through quite a lot of ERS in doing so, but things have worked out okay for them. Luka Milanic also gaining places. He is up towards 6th place. You can see the penalties there. Tripkov, Milanic and Finch with 3, 3 and 8 respectively. So both of the Red Bulls are going to find things quite hard tonight as Dempsey gets close to the back of Soku. Nothing going on this occasion. 95% ERS. They're just quite happy to control this race and quite happy to just keep the McLaren and our championship leader behind them. Van Dijken in 3rd place. He knows he can just play things a bit cool at the moment. I mean, he's won a championship like this before, just consistently picking up podiums and picking up big points every single race. The 2 cars who got on the podium last time around, one of them's in 7th, and one of them's down in 15th. So it's a big opportunity, even if Van Dijken doesn't win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely is. And it's something I was saying earlier on. Consistency is absolutely key, as Daniel proved last season, in fact. And I'm not going to say I cursed him by mentioning that earlier on, but then he was involved in an incident, which is highly unfortunate for him, down in 15th position. So let's see what he can do coming towards the end. Can he get those mediums to the end? If he can, he might still be able to hoover up some points when the pit stops start happening. So it's not all over for Daniel just yet. Points may still be up there if he can get those mediums towards the end of the race with 16 laps to go. I'm expecting some pit stops coming fairly soon especially from the top 10. Everything's sort of settling down. Luka Milanak's dropped off the back of Dawson at the moment, so it is a top 5 train, and then there's almost 2 seconds back to the sort of secondary train at the moment, and that could be key in deciding who jumps first into the pits. If you are Dawson, do you decide to jump? If you're Luka Milanak, do you decide to jump? We'll have to wait and see, but we're nearing half distance here then in PC F3. And Olaf Soko is still leading from Drake Dempsey. The Ferrari 1-2 is looking very, very strong so far, as indeed we are seeing some pit stops happening.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because it is both of the Alpines have come into the pits on the same lap. So definitely no communication going on between them. And it is, medium tyres on for Matt Brain, medium tyres on for Thomas Laminen. They're going to have to take those a considerable way. 16 laps should be doable, but not really the optimal strategy that you'd want. Jan Houdenledge has got ahead of Getone, so they're having their own little battle on their own at the moment for 11th and 12th place. And Jurgen Dovzan has worked his way past Jake Finch, so that is the Williams up in towards 4th. And we're hearing Jake might have just had a tiny bit of a moment. Perhaps those rears starting to cry enough, especially this part of the circuit. Really does start to put those rear tyres under a lot of stress, as we get a very nice camera angle there. See the beautiful blue skies here at the Miami International Autodrome. Succo leading, Dempsey in 2nd, Van Dijken in 3rd, and we are approaching that pit stop period. We've got drivers burning through quite a bit more of their ERS. We've got Drake Dempsey trying to go round the outside of his Ferrari teammate Olaf Soku, but nothing doing on this occasion. They are going to stay out another lap, and it is Zander Van Dijken, first one of the leaders to bite the bullet. He is in at the end of lap 14.
Yeah, I think this could be a very an inspired call for Zander Van Dijken. If we see Drake Dempsey continue to battle and scrap with Olaf Soko, this could work really, really nicely for Xander, because he's going to come out, depends if he comes out in clean air, which he might well do, or relatively clean air at the very least, on the medium tyres, he can set a few lap times. Meanwhile, these two will be squabbling their way around at least another lap. If they lose too much time, Xander could have just jumped them both in that pit stop. So it's going to be pretty vital now for Drake Dempsey especially to not try and overtake his teammate. The other thing, of course, is it is a Ferrari 1-2 right now. They can't both pit at the same time. We've just seen this with the Alpines. One of them's going to... In fact, I say that Drake Dempsey is getting past. Maybe Drake Dempsey wants the pit priority. That's why he's making the move. But that little bit of squabbling, that could be very, very costly. Almost as much so as double stacking. We'll have to wait and see. But Drake Dempsey, I imagine, will come into the pits on this lap now. We've seen Xander Van Dyken come in. Drake Dempsey's jumps his teammate in a fairly aggressive move on this lap. Quite early on through the lap as well. I am imagining he's going to come into the pits and make use of the fact that he's the lead Ferrari on track. And sort of, in fact, saying that, Olaf Soko looking up the inside, they're going to be battling all the way to the pit stop at this rate.
Yeah, they are, and there we go. Drake Dempsey, you caught it spot on. That's where he did the overtake. He's into the pits. The American comes into the pits then at the end of lap number 15 here. Round number 2. Season 31 PCF3 Premier Sim Gaming League, sponsored by GT Omega. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the action. We've got F2 will be starting later on. You should be able to catch the race straight after this one. And, of course, there's plenty of other action throughout the week, including, let's not forget, PC F1. As there we go, Xander Van Dyken coming round turn number 1. Drake Dempsey's miles clear.
Yeah, so Xander must have had some struggles on that outlap. That's the only thing I can think of, because realistically Drake Dempsey should have lost some time on that in lap there, battling with his teammate the whole way through.
He did have the DRS though, and as you can see now, that gap was 1.5 seconds coming outside the pits. It's already, back within a second. So once again, the tyre one was playing an issue. Yeah,
so see if Xander Van Dyken can take advantage of that. He's scything through that gap on this lap, it has to be said, having got the heat into the tyres a lap before. Is he going to be close enough to make a move into the final corner on Drake Dempsey? Olaf Soko is coming towards the end of the lap now, so we'll see if he comes into the pits. I can only imagine that he will, as well as Jake Finch, Milan Maya, and Get-Owned, the top 4 at the moment, none of which have made a pit stop. Xander Van Dyken 7/10 back. I actually don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move into the final corner, even with that extra tyre temp. Just Drake's managed to get the tyres up to temperature enough on the outlap to be able to fend off the McLaren, and that does mean that through the latter part of this race, it is going to be pure pace between these guys. Olaf Soko is indeed in. He's got the mediums on. He's coming down the pit lane now. Where is he going to be? Xander Van Dyken sets the fastest lap of the race. Is he good? They both have jumped Olaf Soko in the pit, so it was just a mother of all, have they? Yes, just Olaf Soko. I thought he was going to come back then, but it was just a mother of all in-laps from Drake Dempsey has managed to allow him to hold the whole track position ahead of Xander Van Dyken, because that undercut has definitely worked. As you can see, he's passed Olaf Soko.
Look how important being the lead Ferrari was. Drake Dempsey now in the lead of this race, and for the first time really since the first 5 metres, it's not a Ferrari 1-2. Soku's dropped down towards 3rd place. They have pulled a bit of a gap out to Yene Dovzan. He's now in 4th. Daniel there in 5th after his damage earlier on. His mediums are going to struggle, of course, towards the end. So we'll wait and see how he can do. I do worry, though, for him getting a good result, as we've got a bit of a battle between the FES boys here. Zoltan Boda has got ahead of Milan Maya using those warmer tyres, and Christian Sendel not too far behind the Haas, as that's big news. Xander Van Dyken with a 3-second time penalty then. Now, we did hear yesterday Lucas Blakely claimed that he got a double warning, so if that's the case for Xander as well, he might be able to get that removed, but he's got to be careful for the rest of the race. Even if it is a double warning, he can't go over track limits for the remaining 12 laps, and with Soku and Dovzan being pretty close behind him, that could end up costing him a podium.
Indeed, we've got something going on in the background. Modesto Maynard's gone round. I don't know if there was contact there. There's no damage to his car in the middle sector of the lap. He was involved in that battle with Yano Turpkov and Get-Owned. I think that both of those are fine. So it looks like he might have just lost it on his own going through that middle sector. There's no visible damage on either of the two he was fighting with. So perhaps a mistake from Modesto Maynard, and that will sort of set him into a little bit of a race on its own for the moment. We'll see if he can sort of come back and try and fight for more pride with these guys later on in the race. But big story is that penalty on Xander Van Dijken. That's a tough one when you've got 11 laps to go. Even if it is a false penalty, it's still going to niggle at your mind for the rest of the race. And it's how well is he going to be able to shut that out now and try and take the fight to Drake Dempsey? If he's got the stupid amount of pace that we've seen him have on the previous race, he could well just get past Drake Dempsey at some point and soar off into the distance. But it's going to be very, very difficult to do so for Xander Van Dijken. Drake Dempsey, we've seen him get his elbows out with his teammates so far in this race, so he's definitely not going to let Xander Van Dijken pass without a fight. But it looks like that fight might be coming. Xander's closer than he's ever been on this lap at the moment. I don't think he's going to be able to make a move into 17, but he is right on the rear wing as we see more yellow flags. I think that's Yana Turpkov now, having got around in the middle sector. So Modesto Almeida breathing a sigh of relief. That little fight between himself and Yana Turpkov might still be on towards the end.
Yeah, and that just shows when you get towards 16 laps on the medium tyres, they start getting a bit worn. So Daniel shouldn't have problems getting them towards the end, but it's not the getting a puncture that worries me for Daniel. It is just pace at the end of this race. How much are they going to start dropping off? Is he going to start falling into the clutches of Zoltan Boda, Milan Mayer, Christian Sendo, Alessandro Maras, who's on for his first points of the season, as we get a lovely helicom shot there of the harbour, which amazingly looks more real on this game than it looked in real life, of course, with the fake water. But here comes Xander Van Dijken heading down towards the pit, heading down this back straight. DRS open on his car. Is he going to be close enough to Drake Dempsey to go for a move down the inside? I think similar to what we were seeing earlier on, no real interest on this occasion into towards turn number 11 of getting that move done. But if he keeps doing this, if he keeps staying back, as it does just tick below a second, they might start dragging Soku and Dovzan back into this battle for the lead.
Yeah, I think Xander Van Dijken for the moment is going to be sitting behind Drake Dempsey on purpose. I can't see a world in which getting past Drake Dempsey is a smart move right now for Xander Van Dijken. 50% less ERS is what Xander's got to play with at the moment. He's using quite a lot to try and stay with Drake Dempsey even at the moment. So Drake Dempsey looks like he might have the pace advantage at this phase of the race. And Xander is just burning it to try and stick with him. 20% as we cross the line on that lap. Drake Dempsey's sitting on nearly about 75% at this point. That could be very important. Olaf Soko's not got much left either, as we've got yellow flags in Sector 3. Is that Thomas Laminen? It is. Has he caused some damage to himself? He's not long been in the pits. In fact, I was expecting that, actually. Speeding in the pit lane usually does precede a race retirement, and the first race retirement that we have so far this evening, retiring from 14th place. Looks like he just had a bit of a spin or something like that around the final corner around turn 17, which you were saying earlier on, Luke, it's easy to do, and it looks like it's claimed its first victim this evening in Thomas Laminen.
Yeah, just a bit heavy on the throttle there, perhaps, as we can see. Yeah, Drake looks to just have this in hand at the moment. He's not going to be too worried. He'll obviously want to keep Xander behind him just in case it is possible for the Dutchman to get that penalty removed towards the end of the race. And Drake, who was saying at the start of the season, he was one of the drivers who was perhaps most vocal about not being happy with his placement, but said, I've just got to do my talking on the track. Didn't work out for him last time around. 9 and a bit laps to go here. Things are working pretty well indeed. As you can see, Jona Martin's just there in the distance. Now, he's not allowed to help these drivers out. F2 on the PlayStation platform, the two Mercedes in that tier, one pitted late on and gave DRS to his teammate, who was a lap ahead of him. He ended up getting a 6-race ban, so definitely not worth it for Jona to try and help out his teammate in this situation. Otherwise, he could get himself in quite a bit of trouble, as Milan Mayer and Christian Sendo were having a battle there, and Alessandro Maros is going to try and get involved in this one. Round the outside, tries the Mercedes, man, that's going to get him the inside for 2, but the outside once again for turn number 3. We're seeing some fantastic battling through the first sector here in the midfield. Sendo just holds on, but has lost himself quite a big margin of time in doing so. Milan Mayer has now nearly broken outside of that 1 second mark. As further up the field, Van Dijken still in the DRS range, not a lot of VRS. So you'd imagine he's going to want to save that at the moment, but he's definitely closer than he has been, and this is going to be the opportunity down the inside in towards turn 11. The winner of last week takes the lead for the first time.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the smartest move on lap 21 though for Xander. As you were saying, the ERS difference is huge between himself and Drake Dempsey. It's going to be very, very easy if Drake Dempsey wants to retake that move. So unless Xander's got some sort of 500 IQ play of maybe backing the Ferrari into his teammate and get them squabbling again, I can't see that being the wisest move. In fact, look at how close Drake Dempsey is already, but not going for the move. And there's definitely some mind games, some mental chess going on between these lead three at the moment that my mind can't quite comprehend, quite possibly, because I can't see, unless Xander's just got that much raw pace on the track that it doesn't matter about ERS, he's just going to pull away anyway, which is a possibility, I suppose. I can't see him being in front at this moment in time being the best idea.
No, yes, he's got that penalty. He's got about 70% less ERS at the moment than Drake Dempsey, which is not a good situation. If he wants to save some, it's going to take him, heading towards the end of the race, as Jonas Martins has been into the pits and has then had a moment coming out of the pits, so he is now a lap down, unfortunately for him. But here comes Drake Dempsey. Is he going to go for the move this time? Yes, he definitely pulled out the slipstream there, thought about it, and then went, you know what? Don't fancy leading the race right at this moment. You just stay in front. You punch that big hole in the air. I'll keep my ERS nice and high. I'll keep my fuel load nice and comfortable. But it might just keep the tyres a bit hotter than you'd ideally like, which could be why, of course, he dipped out of that. As again, Meyer, Sendel and Maris are having a real ding-dong battle here, and Jake Finch has got himself involved. Maris gets bumped over the curb, spins round, spins into retirement. Is that going to be a safety car? It is indeed. That changes everything.
That does indeed, and it was looking, in fact, just before that safety car came out, crucially, Drake Dempsey has got himself back in front of Xander Van Dyken. Look at them all. All of them are coming into the pits. Drake Dempsey, Xander Van Dyken, in fact, I say all of them. Olaf Soko staying out. That's an interesting decision, but I guess he didn't really have a choice, given his teammate was in, once again, being the lead Ferrari, paying off. And that could be very important for that final podium position, with Olaf Soko not being able to pit because of his teammate. And look, they're all going to the softs with 6 laps to go. That's heart-wrenching if you're Olaf Soko, of course. Starting from what was pole position, now looking like he's going to struggle. It's difficult to overtake around here, and he's got that going for him, but we've seen overtakes happen. And the pace difference between the softs and the mediums, I just can't see him holding that many drivers off. Daniel stayed out as well, which is an interesting call, given that he was on the... In fact, has Daniel stayed out, or has my timing tower gone a bit wonky? I'm just trying to take a look. He might have come in, actually.
He has, but he's put hards back on.
Yeah, he's put hards... Yeah, my timing tower is telling me he's got 10-lap-old hards on, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there with Daniel for the moment. He has definitely got the white wall tyres on the car, which is an interesting decision. Was he far enough back to not pit and stay 5th?
No.
I don't think he was.
All I can think of is he's been into the... one surefire way, 2 pit stops. He's been into the pits, and clearly, forgot to tell Mark. I was very nearly said Jeff then, but he's forgot to tell them, yeah, I want a different set of tyres on. I don't want the hards on, I want the softs, because the game will have automatically defaulted to the hards as the normal strategy. And Daniel now, surely he's got a bit of a gap to some of the cars further back. If I was him, I'd be coming into the pits and putting on a set of softs, because he is going to be a sitting duck on those hard tyres at the start of this race. And at least if he goes on the softs, he can try and make a few moves. But yeah, that's a bit of a nightmare for the man currently 3rd place in the championship. And no, he is staying out. He is going to try and make things work here. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to win, as Jonas Martins gets disqualified from the session for ignoring the yellow flag, because clearly you weren't allowed to overtake the cars, and then he gets a drive-through penalty as well, which, doesn't matter because he's disqualified. So, yeah, not quite sure what happened there with Jonas Martins, but he is out of this race, and we are down to, effectively, I believe with Jeffrey Ritchie having redisconnected from this session, we are effectively down towards 15 cars, and obviously big winners from this safety car kit period, Yone Tripkov and Modesto Maynard, who've just been having their own battle in the background for the entire race, could still pick up some points here. Yeah,
so this is going to be an incredible sprint to the finish. once we get going again when the safety car comes in. We've got 5 laps to go. I have to feel for Olaf Soko. He's going to get mugged on the safety car restart unless he's got some sort of a worldie planned. Daniel as well, whether he's forgotten to change his tyre strategy or whether it's bugged on him remains to be seen, but he is also going to get absolutely mugged. It works out quite nicely. Jone Dovson, it's pretty certain we're going to have Drake Dempsey, Xander Van Dyken and Jone Dovson on the podium because Zoltan Boda's not going to be able to take the fight straight to Dovson when we restart. He's going to have to get past Daniel first, which I imagine will get a little bit in the way and slow him down. Possibly out of that 1 second window. We'll have to wait and see. He's not going to have much time to close the gap back up when he does get through. That's for absolutely certain. But the question's going to be, does Xander have the pace to get past Drake Dempsey? We were worried about the ERS and the way it was going to play out. Before the safety car came out, Xander burned all of his ERS trying to get past, got past, lost the position back to Drake Dempsey just as the safety car decided to come out, thanks to that issue, incident we saw with Maras in the middle sector of the lap. It's a level playing field, equal ERS, equal tyres. Who will come out on top? Of course, that podium is weighing over Xander Van Dyken as well. Whether that gets removed or not will remain to be seen. The safety car is going to mean a lot of these guys aren't really as marginal on fuel, even if the red lights are on the telemetry thing, the telemetry display. The safety car will allow them to have saved enough to get to the end without issue. So it is just pace. A straight sprint, which I imagine will be 3 laps with the safety car. I think will come in on this lap to give us 2 or 3 full laps of racing towards the end. Who's going to come out on top? Is it going to be Xander taking his second win? Is Drake Dempsey going to take this one? Is Olaf Soko going to pull off a miracle and manage to hold everybody behind? There's going to be no DRS, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah, no DRS obviously for the first 2 laps. Unfortunately, dubstep F1 cars have decided to make an appearance during this safety car period, and I can only apologise for that one, but your ears might just start to get a bit painful once we get back to full racing action. But it is a Ferrari 1-2, a bit like we saw at Silverstone. One Ferrari's decided to stay out there on a harder set of the tyres, but this time it was definitely more driver choice than team choice. Olaf Soko deciding that he had less to lose on the mediums than by double stacking and staying out there on the circuit. Jeffrey Ritchie has managed to get back into possession. He's now out there on a set of soft tyres, but he's a long, long way off the pack, so we'll have to wait and see. If we just look at that safety car, we'll have to wait to see if the lights are going to go out or whether the safety car is going to stay out for one more lap, which should obviously be glorious news if you're leading this race right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine it'll be coming in, but the lights are still on by the look of it. So, in fact, it is coming in, yeah. I was going to say, with the amount of laps left, I think the game does bring the safety car in to give you at least 2 or 3 laps of racing without having to Michael Massey the ending of the race. So we've got the safety car coming in. Olaf Soko slowing down to become the de facto safety car and desperately get some heat into those 8-lap-old medium tyres as those soft tyres are looking pretty feisty behind him. Just a couple of laps to go. We're sprinting to the finish of this race. Look already as they go on the restart. It's going very tight between the 2 Ferraris. Drake Dempsey already going around the outside of his teammate down towards turn 1. Xander Van Dyken looks like he was caught sleeping a little bit, but those 2 scrapping. He's going to work to help pull him back in. Milan Meyer looks to have lost a few positions on this restart as well to Zoltan Boda and Christian Sendel. Drake Dempsey now is going to have to absolutely run like hell. He's going to have Xander Van Dyken to try and get through his teammate as Jeffrey Ritchie does finally leave the session and retire from the session. Xander Van Dyken, we were expecting to have a good restart, but at the moment it's not looking like it's playing out quite the way he would have wanted to on this one.
Yeah, and let's not forget, if he's got that penalty and can't get it removed because of the safety car, he's going to plummet down the order. How much grip has he got on those tyres? He's too far back to send it on Soku in towards turn number 11 on this lap, and it's going to be single file, until they get down the straight towards turn number 17. So Richie does retire from the session. We are down to 15 cars. That is the penalty situation round about now. 3 seconds for Van Dyken, Finch, Mlanic and Tripkov. All of them might do well to get any points on this occasion. And Soku's already nearly a second behind his teammate. Surely, barring any incidents, Drake Dempsey is going to be streaking towards the victory, and Van Dijken cannot get close enough. Daniel hasn't dropped down any places either. He's still ahead of Zoltan Boda on his hard tyres. The softs not quite giving the advantage that we would have expected. 3 laps to go. It is now Dempsey from Soku, from Van Dijken, from Dovzan, Daniel, Boda, Maya, Sendel, Brain, Finch. All your drivers in the points as Jake Finch gets past there. Matt Brain round the outside in towards turn number 1. Should be able to hold on. And that is Finch up into 9th.
Yeah, but Matt Brain's losing another position to Jan Halliday as well. They're side by side as we head towards the end of the first sector and out into the second sector. We're side by side all the way through there until Matt Brain finally gets back ahead of the Aston Martin. But it was looking pretty dicey there for a moment for Matt Brain, losing 2 positions almost at the start of this lap. And I can imagine that Jan Halliday is going to come back towards him once again down the end of this straight in towards turn 11. How he's already gone to cover the inside, back across to the outside. This time though, Halliday's not going for it. It looked like there was a bit of contact. Ghetto getting quite close towards the back of Halliday as well at this point in time. So this battle really starting to heat up as the race comes to a close. But this lead battle that we were really looking for, as in fact, is that Jake Finch having a moment coming through the middle there, and now he's got Matt Brain. In fact, no, that's Jake Finch on Christian Sendel even. They were side by side coming out of the middle sector. So it's all kicking off for these final point-paying positions. Jake Finch in 9th, Sendel in 8th. Matt Brain still holding that 1-point position, the final point-paying position in P10. And it is fighting all the way through. DRS has been enabled for the final couple of laps of the race. Drake Dempsey does not give a care about DRS. He's 2 seconds ahead of Olaf Soko at the moment. But the DRS might mean that Xander Van Dijken can at least move himself up to P2 as the race does come to a close. But my eyes are glued to this battle. We've got cars right next to each other from 8th all the way down to 14th nearly with in 14th even with Janne Turkov on the back of this train. And realistically, the way it's playing out, any single one of them could take away any one of these points positions.
Yeah, I mean, Finch is the one that you're expecting, obviously, to plummet down the order. So at the moment, Brain versus Halliday versus Ghetto, it's a battle for effectively 9th place. Further up the field, Milan Maya is onto the back of Daniel. It's like there's no difference with the tyres here. It's like the only difference is tyre age, because Soku is not losing out, really. We've got Jake Finch has managed to get ahead of Christian Sendel briefly. He's managed,
side by
he's
side.
able to fight his way back, and Brain there has actually gone into the back of Sendel, who then goes into the back of Finch. It's all just concertinaing up, and I wonder whether Jake's got a bit of damage, because he's, really lost out in all of that one. And still, as we head on to the final lap nearly, Drake Dempsey's got a 3-second lead. Van Dijken isn't close to the back of Soku, and in fact it's Jerne Dovzan pulling out of the slipstream there to have a bit of a move. Christian Sendel thinks about a move on Jake Finch. It's pretty much as you were then.
Yeah, Drake Dempsey streaking off into the distance of 28.6, fastest lap of the race. Xander Van Dijken really has not had the safety car restart we would have expected in that McLaren. He's got a 12-lap old mediums on Olaf Soko. He is doing a phenomenal job holding everyone behind him at the moment, as is Daniel as well. As you were saying, it doesn't look like there's really any difference between those tyre compounds. Daniel's lost a position since the safety car restart with 10-lap older tyres and 2 compounds harder. So a great job. And I said it earlier on in the race, yeah, he had that moment, but yeah, he's come back, and I said points were going to be on the table, and they absolutely are. But it's looking like Drake Dempsey is going to be taking this win very comfortably in front of the moment, nearly 4 seconds ahead of his teammate. Xander Van Dijken is right on the back of Olaf Soko too, heading through the middle sector. There's only really going to be one more overtaking position for Xander Van Dijken to try and get through as the battle for the final part of the top 10 eats up once more. Sendel and Matt Brain side by side. Sendel's gone all squiggly coming through that sector. He's just about held onto it. But Matt Brain briefly was inside the Alpha Tower. The game had ghosted him before he'd even crashed. It was expecting it, but Sendel, car control of gods, holds on to it. Drake Dempsey coming around the final few corners to very comfortably take the win with some great strategy calls around Miami. Olaf Soko has managed to do it. He's held off Xander Van Dijken, who with that penalty has dropped down to P7 as they cross the line. Jerne Dovzan gets the podium for now, but the question's going to be, was that penalty a glitch?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, someone who won't care, well, the two drivers who won't care about it. Olaf Soko in second, and Drake Dempsey obviously in first. Christian Sendall there getting driver of the day, managed to, provisionally get himself in towards the points, despite having started in last place, having not set a valid lap time in qualifying. But at one of his home races, Drake Dempsey stepping out there for Ferrari. A fantastic performance from him there. Xander Van Dijken, I believe, may still retain the lead of the championship, although Jene Dovzan not going to be too far off at the moment. But it is Drake Dempsey who takes the victory. Olaf Soko gets second place, and Jene Dovzan making it the second race in a row. Christina Williams in third place. These are the rest of your results in, as we do just wait for them to come up. Obviously, Xander Van Dijken there dropping down towards 7th place, and I think we're going to be stuck on a migrating host screen, unfortunately, but we'll still try to grab those results from you. But, fantastic race. Drake Dempsey did everything that he had to there and just streaked away right from the restart.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit confused as to what happened, because it looked like Xander Van Dijken had the pace earlier on in that race, but then when the safety car restart happened, he struggled to get past Olaf Soko on those older tyres. So I'm not quite sure what's happened there. But yeah, Drake Dempsey had an absolutely phenomenal race restart. And just, he got past his teammate into turn 1, and that was all she wrote. At that point, the difference in tyres between the softs and the mediums, he just ran away with it. And that is the advantage he was able to pull by, for both pit stops, being the lead Ferrari. I'm trying to imagine how different that might have been if Olaf Soko was the lead Ferrari when the safety car came out.
Yeah, who knows how different it could have been. Who knows if it had been the lead Ferrari when the first pit stops came. But it was Dempsey who takes the win and gets a perfect 17 points with the fastest laps as well. Soko in second, Dovzan third, Bodan, Maya, Daniel Kija, Van Dijken, Sendall, Brain and Halliday round out the provisional top 10. Jake Finch just missing out, courtesy of that penalty. And then it was Get-Owned, Luka Mlanic, Jana Tripkov, Modesto Mena, and the retirements, Jeffrey Ritchie, Jona Martins, Alessandro Maras, and Thomas Lamanan. And yeah, it was really all about that safety car period. Well, the safety car period and the first pit stops. Drake Dempsey got the move done, got the first dibs on the pit stop, managed to get the lead. And let's not forget, Van Dijken, he was ahead. He was ahead of Soko heading into the safety car, and Soko stayed out in a strategy that I don't think any of us, and maybe not even him, expected to work.
Yeah, I think he was forced into it, and he's made the best of that situation as everything's played out. And he's done really, really well with it, to be fair. But I've just seen what's been going on in the stewarding channel in the Discord. That's why I was looking across to the other side there. And I get the feeling that incident on lap 1, right at the very start, that's going to be talked about for some time after this race. There's a few POVs of that. I've just rewatched them popping up in the stewarding channel in the Discord, and it's looking... It's a very tight call. By the looks of things, to recap, if you weren't here for that lap 1 incident, the two Ferraris and the McLaren came together on the first lap before we even made it to the first corner. Some of the footage may seem like Olaf Soko may have drifted across to the right-hand side slightly, whether he knew his teammate Drake Dempsey was coming through or not. But that looks to be what's happened, was Olaf Soko's drifted across to the right, clipped his teammate, who's then gone into the McLaren of Jona Martins. So there may be some more pain coming. And of course we saw that penalty as well for Olaf Soko, if that was a double warning or something like that. That might change the order as well. Of course, we don't like it when this sort of thing happens, but it's what the stewarding channel is there for. Fixing anything the game does wrong, and also any incidents that we see throughout the race. So we'll have to see what happens on those fronts.
Yeah, we will. Like you said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. They've got 24 hours to get their stewards' inquiries in, and then a bit more time to apply, and we'll make sure you're updated. You'll probably see some of the results on Twitter from the drivers. We'll make sure to update you at the start of the week as well. But for now, we have got a few drivers, I am delighted to say, joining us here for interviews. And we are going to start off with our race winner, managing also to get the point for the fastest lap. A fantastic race from yourself, Drake Dempsey. Were you, after the restart, obviously you got ahead of Olaf Soko pretty quickly. Were you expecting Xander and the rest to be able to follow you?
Wait, yeah, you can hear me. I mean, I expected them to dispatch the medium tire pretty quickly, so I just wanted to build up the gap I could. Uh, well, I guess the softs being pretty bad at Miami wore pretty quickly, and the mediums kind of matched them, so it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't too much of a difference to where you could get past quickly if at all. So, I mean, I could see him being able to match more in the first sector, but then when you go into the second sector of all the slow sections and whatnot, the chicane, it just really tumbled down, and I could feel like he was running a higher downforce setup my teammate because I breezed past him, my setup.
Yeah, speaking of your teammate, we saw you squabbling around the pit windows, especially with Olaf Soko. How important was it for your strategy today to be the lead Ferrari, especially when that first pit window came in? Because we saw you take quite the lunge just to make sure you were ahead of Olaf before the pit window and make sure you could get in first. How crucial was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to pit that lap, so I saw him coming, and I mean, unfortunately, we're not in a communication since he opted out of voice chat in the race, which is fair. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to be the one to pit on that lap since I knew Xander, who had a good pace, would pit the lap before. And yeah, luckily the overcut seemed to be prevalent, so I managed to do it pretty well with the ERS usage on the last.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Tell us about what happened at the start of the race as well, because we've already seen a report from Yona in the chat. It was, quite a shocking start. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it on the camera angle. Tell us your point of view, because all of a sudden you were in the lead, and there was a McLaren facing backwards.
I'll give you a very in-depth description of it. So I line up on the grid 0.1 meters, really good, and I was happy about that, and it really boosted my confidence, and I got a really good start reaction with the light, and I got a much better start than the top two, and I put my way up to the middle where there was a gap, and then seems like my teammate came over to the right a little bit and then squeezed me a bit. I got wing damage actually, a slight lime wing for the entire race, and Yona ended up backwards. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I couldn't do anything there.
Yeah, certainly. Paul, any more questions for our race winner?
Yeah, just a little bit on the ERS. It was one of the big talking points, I think, for us watching the race throughout it, and you look to be very comfortable on the ERS compared to the drivers around you for a large portion of that race. Was that something you'd planned out? Sort of, how much in depth going into it for perhaps sort of someone who's not so much into, maybe somebody who doesn't pay much attention to the ERS going through race? How much do you plan ahead when you're going to use the ERS, when you're going to save the ERS, or how much of that is done on the fly?
Well, the fact that I had wing damage, I just didn't want to push too much because it would cause me to have to steer a little bit more, which would probably induce a little bit more tire wear, which is what I was very afraid of near the end of both stints. So, I was basically I put a low amount of fuel, minus 0.07 at the start, and I didn't expect to make myself up into the lead that quickly. So I knew that if you were in a train, you'd be able to gain back a lot. But if you were the leader, you'd have to lift and coast a bit and just not push that much. So I was doing a little bit of that, conserving my tires, and with that, my battery, I just was not really using it much. So wasn't really planned out, that entire thing with the wing damage and all. So it just came, I just had to do what I had to. I didn't expect to keep it. I didn't think my pace would be as good as it was when I got the slight wing damage. It wasn't much, but it was a little bit of understeer I didn't want.
Well, it worked out for you in the end. I think that's all I've got, Luke, if you've got anything else to add.
No, that's it. Just congratulations, Drake, and who knows, we might be seeing you again next week.
I hope so.
Thank you. And next up, we have got the man who finished in third place, Yerne Dovzan. And Paul, why don't you take us through this one?
Yeah, well, a podium for you tonight, Yerne, and perhaps an unexpected one. Did you ever think a podium might be on the cards when you saw the pace of the lead three, especially?
I mean, first of all, thank you for the for my podium. But I think I'm mostly struggling in qualifying because if you look at my quali pace, you can't just expect me to do as poor in the race as I did in quali. But I think my race pace is almost top notch in this tier. But I just didn't put like much practice in for the one lap pace, so that's why I was like P10. But I like kept my cool, was calm throughout the whole race, and I was making right decisions, and that brought me up into P3.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about how you're not really putting much practice into the one lap pace, more focusing on the race side of things. And it's worked out very well for you, in fact, today, hasn't it? So a great drive to move yourself up to P3, as you say, your race pace looking very, very strong. Now we're a couple of races into the season. What are you aiming for? I'm guessing it's going to be moving even further up next time out.
I mean, I don't want to be like too cocky or too aggressive, but I think at least a top 3 finish at the end of the championship would be like a pretty nice achievement.
The ambition's definitely there to take the fight to the leaders. Anything you want to add, Luke?
Yeah, you've had 2 fantastic races so far, P5 and P3. How are you feeling heading into Spa next week?
It's Spa next week. Okay. I mean, I love Spa, but I think the setups are a bit like 0-0 wings. I think most of us will run that, but so the setups won't be like too much different from driver to driver. But yeah, it's like a wonderful track. A couple of overtaking opportunities, but yeah, it's one of my favorites actually. So I might put some more practice into it than I have in for Austria and Miami.
Yeah, well, if this is how good you've been with not as much practice, just imagine what you could do with some practice. Congratulations on your first podium of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that is it for the interviews, I believe. I'll just give it a quick check, but I don't believe Olaf is going to be joining us. And a fascinating race, a bit more action than perhaps we expected at Miami, to be honest, but not at the end of the race, which is obviously after the safety car. We thought there'd be loads of moves, but the mediums and even the hards on Daniel's car were able to hold on really well.
Yeah, as we heard in the interviews, it did seem a little bit like the softs just really aren't very good around Miami. And they were quite quickly, as our race leader was saying, and that really just played into it, and that allowed the likes of Daniel and Olasoko to defend from the runners on the soft tyre behind them quite handily as well, as it happened. So yeah, the super intense sprint race to the finish we were expecting didn't really play out, but nonetheless, still a very interesting, a very intriguing race. And the safety car did still throw the cat amongst the pigeons and left us wondering with those 2 drivers staying out what would happen. But yeah, a fantastic race. We saw battling those final points-paying positions were that you'd think they were battling for the race lead the way they were going at it in the final few laps.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's great to see that towards the field, that fighting all the way along, which was, generally, compared to what you might expect through that section of the track, quite clean. There was a few bumps, but outside of what we saw happen on lap 1, and then obviously whatever on earth happened with Daniel, that might be something that gets reported to the stewards. Things were generally quite clean, and yeah, by the sounds of it, it would not surprise me if Olaf gets a penalty for the start of this race. I mean, Jonas said it himself, very Vettel Singapore 2017-esque, and if that is the case, it's been another race for Soku where he's had the pace, but for one reason or another, he's not going to get too much reward. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that the big talking point coming out of this race is we have a lot of what ifs, don't we? With the way things have played out in the first couple of rounds, especially as you say, with Olaf Soko having the pace, but just getting involved a little bit too much in some stuff that perhaps he shouldn't be, and Daniel getting involved. I mean, Daniel was involved in that incident. God knows what happened. We'll have to try and find out between now and next week. But he was involved in that incident, dropped all the way back, had to come in and pit for a new nose cone, and still finished 5th on the hard tyres towards the end when everybody else had put the softs on behind him. So where would he have finished if he wasn't involved in that incident earlier on?
Yeah.
It's so much that you think, oh, what if this had happened differently? What if this had happened differently? We're going to have to wait another week to go to Spa to see what happens there as well. Whether those what ifs play out. Where will Daniel be? Where will the likes of Dovson be? Because of course he said he's going to put a bit more practice in for this one. So will he be able to take the fight to the likes of the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens who have been squabbling at the top? yeah, where would Jonas Martins have finished as well in this race if he wasn't involved in that one? You can see the calendars up on screen. 4th of August is when we are back for the Spa round, and I'm very much looking forward to that one, not only because we've got all these questions hanging over us, but because it's one of my favourite tracks on the calendar as well.
Yeah, certainly one of mine. Like Yone said, the strategies might be a bit samey just because of the way things are on the game, but, you know, low downforce suggests we might get a few more mistakes as well. It is certainly going to be one to watch. But before then, there's still plenty of more action to go around Miami, of course. Make sure now to check out, we've got F2, F5 and F6 streams live right now. Chris Buxton and Dan Field after a bit of a warm-up act in PSGL F1 yesterday. They're on now on F2 as well. We've also got PlayStation action with lower tiers on the Sunday and the top tiers on the Monday, with Jess Ball and Aidan Carter taking you through Miami at 8 p.m. And then next week, George Morgan and Jack Canaan will be back for round number 5 on the PC F1 tier. Can we see Barry Borman extend his championship lead once again at Belgium? But for myself and Paul, thank you so much to all you guys for watching. Thanks to Drake and Yerne for joining us for the interviews. Thanks also to our sponsors Grid Rival and our partners GT Omega. And we will see you in a week's time at Spa-Francorchamps. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and goodbye.
Broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.